The Xfinity Series, the Cup Series, all head to Michigan Speedway. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. So thankful that you could be joining us here tonight. NASCAR's been in the news since the race ended on Sunday, and really looking forward to diving into it with you all here tonight. And I mean, we got a really big show here. We welcome back Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast, back on as Phil was out last week having a good time down in Philly at a concert. So Phil, welcome back. We'll let you get all set up there. But Ryan, I want to kick it over to you first. And for anybody that doesn't know, this is Ryan Stevens, wintherace.info. Make sure you guys check out him, follow, and make sure you just kind of get connected with everything he's doing because his Discord and his group are really crushing it this year. So how was Richmond for you, Ryan?
It was good. I actually just went in there with the 3 head-to-heads, and I won 2 out of the 3. So I was up. I'll take it. The one that I lost was the secondary one that I mentioned, the Elliott over Reddick. That one did not hit at all. But the other 2 hit. One was given out on here. Felt great about it. After practice and qualifying, they laid like Bell near even odds. Well, it wasn't even money, but it was, minus 110 to minus 110 or whatever it was versus Larson. And so I took Bell all day in that, and that was never close. So, well,
until
it was at the end, until the shit, until some shit at the end. But he was just still zooming at the end after his penalty and passed Larson with ease. So it was good. 2 out of 3 head-to-heads. I kind of liked that, just kind of chilling out, enjoying the race. I wanted to do that with how, seeing how these tires worked and everything with the Ultimate tire. So it was fun.
Yeah. No, I definitely enjoyed the race as well. Good things we talked about on the show, and really appreciate Kyle, Robert for coming on and joining us. Make sure you guys go and support them. I see Kyle now in the audience here. I see Marcus. I see a lot of people filing in, so we always appreciate that. Brian as well. And Phil, as I kick it over to you, first off, good talking to you again, and looking forward to really chatting here tonight. I can't unmute your mic, so make sure you do that for me in the interim. But I'm looking forward to not only talking about Michigan.
Can you hear me?
Not sure what happened there. That was a first. I'm not sure if internet on somebody's side went out or what happened. It seems that we got Ryan back on now. I'm not sure what happened there, Ryan. I'm looking at all my stuff on my screens with internet and everything. We don't have a storm going through. I see it maybe kicked Phil off, so it might be a bug of some sort that happened there. So sorry to everybody listening on X or YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. So we apologize for that. But as I was saying, Phil, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know.
It kicked you off for me, and then
it kicked you off first, and then Phil was gone, and then I just stayed here, and then you came back, and Phil came back. I don't know.
Well, I feel bad for the YouTube audience, but for the podcast audience, we'll kind of kick off the show starting now, and welcome you boys on, and welcome everybody that's listening in the chat. And I see a lot of people again filing in, and really looking forward to talking with everybody. And Phil, what I was really curious about, not only as we get into this weekend with Michigan, there's a lot to talk about going back to Richmond, but man, did you and I clean up house when it came to the truck series? Am I right?
We had a good race. We had a really good
Yeah.
race. We avoided talking about the top dogs in Majeski
Yep.
and Eckes and Heim because
Yep.
we kind of assumed they were going to do their thing, which they did, and we were able to capitalize on a lot of the other head-to-heads, other top 5 action that cashed for us. So yeah, really good truck race, that's for sure. Set the tone for the weekend.
It really did set the tone, and I was really needing Tyler Ankrum to come through and score a top 5. That was a big payout. I mean, you touched on that at the end of the podcast, and that to me felt like that was the best position to get invested on. The guy who qualified top 10 and was in the top 10 until they went with a bad. They stayed out on pit or on old tires, went all the way back, but came to the front. But anyways, how about from a Cup Series standpoint, Phil? Because we didn't get to talk to you last week. How'd you do in the Cup Series side?
Yeah, it came out almost up 5 units, just under 5 units total. Could have been a lot more. I had a Instagram video I put out there of I had Logano 12-1, he gets gone. I had Toyota 2 units on them at whatever the price was, he gets gone, and there it is. But called out Austin Dillon actually plus 450 for a top 10 on the podcast, so that was good analysis, I guess.
That was good
because the car was good before the chaos. So, happy about that.
Yeah. No, Austin Dillon from practice, qualifying, and obviously in the race was super strong. I mean, obviously, we know how the race turned out, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. And so many of you are already chiming in the comments as well. As Ryan goes off to another galaxy there, so it's just you and me now for a little bit. It might be his internet that maybe got the bug there. But I want to hear from you guys in the audience. I want to hear from the podcast listeners, wherever you're listening from, because this story today with NASCAR coming down and finally penalizing Austin Dillon. I want to hear your thoughts, Phil, and get what you have to say. But with Austin Dillon keeping the win, losing his playoff eligibility with the win, getting docked points, fines with Logano, I'll just jump right into rapid fire. And again, if you guys have opinions on the listener side, let us know. But Phil, did NASCAR get it right?
I guess over our quick answer, yes, with a long answer, but from all the outrage, I have a lot of criticism of a lot of this stuff, so I don't know really where to start, but I'll start by saying, did they get it right? I guess you're setting a message that you can't have people doing this, and I guess that's right. That's what most people, I think the majority of the folks are saying. They don't want the sport to turn into demolition derby. I think there's a lot of righteousness going on amongst the drivers, and I think unprovable hypocrisy. Honestly, I think every driver that's ever in that position, 32nd in points, that has one chance to get into the playoffs is going to do that same exact thing. But because they're not, they're on a soapbox. So I take all of that shit with a grain of salt. I think they're all full of shit. So yeah, I mean, it's easy for Denny Hamlin to go on a rant on his podcast because he's never going to be 32nd in points and desperate for his fucking career. So shut up. But, did NASCAR get it right? I think, what is the point? There's no point in taking the playoff eligibility away and keeping a win. Who gives a shit about that? And the reason they're doing that is because they're skirting the rules. They're skirting around their own rule book about the ability to take a win away. And I'm listening to Dave Moody this afternoon. He's like, but they didn't take the win away. They didn't take it away. It's like, well, no shit. Who cares? They took everything that means anything. So you think the 3 car is going to want that trophy? No. Throw the trophy in the trash. What a joke. What a farce. Either you let them stay in and they keep the win, or you take the win away, and that's what disqualifies them from the playoffs. This half in, half out bullshit isn't flying with me. And the length of time it took them to get to this point is absurd. Absolutely absurd. So I'll pause there because I'll let Ryan chime in.
He'll put that trophy right up there with his other bullshit win trophies on the most fucked up mantle of all time.
So you share, Ryan. That's good to hear what Phil had to say. What did you think? Did you think NASCAR got it right, or what are your opinions of it?
I mean, I don't like how Elliott Sawyer brings the speed into it about right rear hooking. Like it's
Mhm.
either you can't do it or you can do it, and you obviously can't. So don't say that the speed mattered. It's still a fucking
Yep.
dumb move, and it's not allowed, especially when it's obvious. And so at first, you couldn't prove that it was obvious until you could prove that it was obvious. And all
Mhm.
of the data was there and showed him jerking the fucking wheel into it. So
Yep.
it's like there is no more arguing it. It's just proof. So that to me, to not have a suspension, I just don't understand it. It's different. It's different only because the speed they were going. It's still a fucking
Right.
moron move that should have been. He should be suspended. But again, I don't really care because most of the races, it's like he's suspended anyways. You don't notice him back there. He's just fucking off in the back, and that's what he does. How to? How was that a legal car? Like that car, that team is trash all year, everywhere. Both cars. And then all of a sudden he's got a race winning car. What happened? They just magically figured it out. Like I just find that very hard to believe that he's just magically the fastest car at the track that weekend.
Mhm.
Super weird. I don't know what that's about. I thought no way that car would pass, but I just
Yeah.
thought that was weird.
Yeah, I'm curious what everybody thinks after hearing what Phil and Ryan both said. I see a couple comments coming in. Brian Twining saying, "Why haven't we seen SMT data from the 47 car?" Now, Stenhouse got into Priest. Phil, let's put it on that tinfoil hat that we sometimes like to do. You think that was intentional? I mean, you had Dillon right behind him going for the win. He just punched his teammate a couple weeks back. The Richard Childers had a couple comments about Stenhouse. You think that was intentional to get a caution, or do you think that was accidental?
There, I think if there's a scale, it's
Yeah,
definitely leaning towards conspiracy theory,
yeah,
not accidental.
yeah. It
How
was
could it have
crazy.
been accidental?
Well, why as soon as they announce we're gonna have an option tire in the race, everybody knows there's gonna be overtime. Every fucking person in the world knew we were getting overtime in that
That
race so people could use the option tire. We
that was a
shouldn't have
lock.
we shouldn't know that going into a race. That's pretty
Yeah,
weird. That's
yeah.
scripted WWE shit.
And
That's a
we've
good point.
seen that. Yeah, and we've seen that kind of style from NASCAR, whether they ever want to admit it or not. Those things are weird and how they happen sometimes. So, quite interesting there. Now, Austin Dillon coming from 4 car lengths back. I mean, I was watching the race. I was telling my wife what was going on right before the overtime. And I mean, I think we were all rooting for Dillon to a degree because it was a huge upset win. And then all of a sudden, how quickly the turns have tabled, I believe the famous line from The Office, and everything switched. Now, Logano acting like a jackass. I get that he's frustrated, but doing some burnouts on pit road. I didn't think anybody was going to get penalized until I saw that one. But then Dillon obviously wrecking and SMT maybe got him in the most trouble. Because to your point, Phil, he wouldn't have done this for just a win, just to get a win if it didn't mean anything other than getting into the playoffs. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, here's the other thing. My point, I actually put my podcast out there like maybe 30 minutes before they announced the
Crazy.
penalty, so I didn't get a
Yep.
chance to comment on it, but I was kind of talking in the dark about it. And we all know all the talking heads are talking about it. The structure is the cause of this. And
Mm-hmm.
so you got to live and die by it. And NASCAR has been living by it for a while successfully. There hasn't been a situation where someone has been in the position to do this. But how? If you are Joey Logano, let's focus on Logano for a second. If you are Joey Logano and you beat him clean off the restart, how the fuck are you not looking in your review saying to yourself, this guy is going to fucking punt me because he is literally fighting for his life. He's got nothing. He's out of a job. This guy's going to punt me. I don't care if I'm a fucking backstretch ahead of him. He's going to do something to take me out because then that happens. And it's like, how are you shocked by this? How are you so fired up that you're putting women and children at risk on pit road. That is mind blowing to me. If I'm 5-6 car lengths ahead of a guy who is literally out of a job next year, likely if he's not the silver spoon, and taking over that organization, I don't see how I get punted and I'm like, what the fuck? I can't believe this. Like, and you go take it out. That's exactly what I would expect. I would be trying to avoid his bullshit while winning the race. Like, give him a hizzy hay or something. Like, what? I don't know. It's ridiculous that he's that shocked by this, where then he goes and does something so stupid, which his fine was a joke by itself. That video was like, I'm pretty like, I don't know, desensitized to shit. But like when you see Paul Swan's wife and baby, like walking in front of his car, that's pretty disturbing. So I don't know, that was a whole another aspect of this where it's like, how are you shocked? This guy's going to be doing anything he can.
I thought Austin Dillon's immediate reaction too, like his defense was like, well, I saw red. It's like you're on trial for murder. Like, what happened? Well, I just saw red, so I killed the person. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You're not in trouble. Dang, good defense. He'd be about as good a lawyer as he is a NASCAR driver.
Well, I thought it was interesting too in the post race. Now I get the family came out and holding the baby. You can't fight anybody that's holding the baby. So I was surprised because I thought there for a minute, and I think I don't know what happened with Logano's car, whether he had a right rear tire down or what, but it almost seemed like he either couldn't turn on the pit road post race or he was really debating. Do I go out to that front stretch and confront him, or do I go down pit road? It was interesting to watch that in that quick little moment. But Denny, I mean, even afterwards, right? Reddick punting Dillon wasn't overly hard. He wrecked his boss, so it wasn't overly hard, but it was still like no drivers were in on this. And then you had Dale Jr. giving a couple rolled eyes when he was interviewing him yesterday, and all the drivers obviously not into it. So it was fascinating to be able to still talk about it. Dude, this feels like the NFL. I mean, NFL keeps storylines going all into next week, and here we are Wednesday. We have 2 days until we're going to see some cars on track. So I really like that we're able to talk about these things. And I wanted to hear what your guys' perspective were. My first question in rapid fire, Phil, was going to be who has a better finish on Sunday, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Austin Dillon? Which side you go in there?
Oh my God, dude. Holy shit.
Right. That has to be a matchup. Somebody's got to put that.
They put Dillon up against Briscoe.
No, we don't want that. That's not
the one I found that one interesting. It's like you're already in the mud, just like, make it work.
Let's go all the way.
Yeah, I was looking at Stenhouse's over under, and I was looking to take the over. I couldn't take it. So I just did like no bet. But because he was like, consistently inside the top, consistently, I say maybe like, 50-60% of the time, top 20 car, I'll take I'll take Stenhouse in that. I mean, I think just RCR in general, it has to be difficult to be, caught up in this whole hoopla. I mean, they posted like a celebration hype video minutes before the news dropped. Like this organization is just out to fucking lunch right now. So I'll take Ricky Stenhouse.
It really was minutes before. But the interesting thing as well, Ryan, is the playoffs. I mean, they shifted dramatically. Now you got guys that are back in the playoffs and got themselves a gift a little bit. When we look at a guy like Ty Gibbs, who's lost an absurd amount of points over the last 5 weeks alone, what was a good lead, obviously trying to of losing the playoffs or playoff spot potentially. You think he's a guy that makes it in the next 3 weeks? Michigan, Daytona, Darlington.
Ty Gibbs?
Tyrone Gibbs.
Yeah, I think this is his best shot to have a good finish in all those
this
races.
Weekend.
Yeah, so I think he's going to qualify really well, and we're going to be talking about that a little later.
Good.
I think he's going to show up with some speed. I think Granddad wants him in the playoffs here, and I think he shows up with a very fast car this week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does. One other name for you, Phil, Martin Truex Jr. We saw that he finished out with an engine issues. JGR has been having some engine issues, not only in the Xfinity side, but the Cup Series side as well. What level of concern is that for you? But also, Truex is now only 77 points out, which he had about 130 or so not too long ago. What's the meter like on him, the worry meter, if you will?
So I think at this point he's leaking oil a little bit. I think he's started to
Literally
gently shift into the like Kyle Busch snake bit area.
Yeah.
But I'm not overly concerned heading into this week. So I'm going to talk about MTJ in just a minute.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, I like it. Well, then let's do this. Let's unless you guys have anything else to add, feel free to bring it up. I'll be curious to hear what everybody. Yeah.
Real quick on Ty Gibbs too. Like, I don't think people remember just how good he was at Darlington either, where I had him as the third best car. He finished second. So yeah, I mean, I think Ty's looking real strong here, as long as he doesn't tank Daytona.
Okay. So yeah, which is always the wild card. I'll be at Daytona. I'm looking forward to getting to that race. That race is gonna be crazy now that Dillon's not in and all these guys trying to make it last second. Go ahead, Phil.
It's interesting you brought up Gibbs because on Twitter this week I put a poll out yesterday because I'm in a season-long fantasy deal with Atop the Pit Box, and I have Gibbs in my roster. My roster has been getting crushed because I got 4 guys who are holding their own for their positions, and then Gibbs. He's just not holding his own, and I got 3 races to change someone out, and I was about to do Wallace instead, and Twitter told me to go with Gibbs. Looking at the stats, they're head-to-head this week on a few books. Looking at the stats, I think I found my way to Gibbs. I'm going to hold on for another week and see what happens. But, like Ryan said, this week is a really big opportunity for him. So I'm listening to the crowd here, and we're going to roll with Gibbs because of the potential, and Darlington is that's just another wild card factor for him if he continues to come back.
So you're talking about the top the pit box standings is what you're
Which
talking
you are
about.
like 9th, by the way.
Dude, I'm up to 9th now. Yeah, so I dropped Alex Bowman a couple weeks back, and that hurt me because he went on to win. I picked up Brad K, which has not gone all that well. And just slowly but surely, Larson, Reddick, Buescher, Chastain, and now, you've said it on your show. I think it was that RFK gets stronger throughout the year. So my hope was, man, the longer they go, Darlington, he got to win. Brad K, that was. Maybe there's an opportunity. So yeah, I just snuck in the top 10 for the first time. So I don't know if that league is big money or not, but I'm hoping that it is because I'm sure coming to the top.
Very fun. It's very fun.
It is. It's easy. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything to it all week. Just see the emails and stuff. So let's move into the next segment then, and let's go into Ride or Fade. I'm curious what Phil and Ryan have to say. We talked about a couple drivers coming in, and again, anybody that has any comments, not only about the news that broke today or anything these guys are talking about, we'll get you up here to be able to kind of showcase what you guys are thinking. So Phil, I'm going to kick it over to you. I know your podcast just dropped a few minutes ago. What's the head-to-head on the market that you found that you want to discuss on the show?
So I'll start by saying that the market is razor thin. It's really tough to find head-to-head matchups. And I was looking into this, and this is an underdog. It's minus 110 to minus 120, but it's an underdog nonetheless. And I don't know why. I do not know why. So I hate to go against our guy Marcus, who led the show off, saying that he was going to take Christopher Bell, which is not a bad pick, to throw out there. But MTJ over Christopher Bell is where I'm going first here because there are so many. It's fun this week. Like for anyone who's trying to dig in deep here, it's fun this week. There are a million different ways to slice this data. I'm going like last 10 at Michigan, next gen at Michigan, the 4 high-speed mile and a halves, the Kansas and Michigan combo, like last 5 races, right? Anywhere I slice it, Truex has an advantage here. I just don't understand why he is an underdog. Christopher Bell obviously making a championship run, putting a race together. It doesn't matter what kind of track we throw at him. He does well, gets in his own way, but still does well. That has to be the reason. But Truex, like we mentioned, being snake bit. But we'll start. I mean, Ryan, you got him 5 spots ahead of Bell, but looking at Michigan, the last 10 races, it's all Martin Truex Jr. 6.5 average finish. He's first in that category with 5 top 5s, 8 top 10s. Christopher Bell's been here 5 times. How many top 10s do you think he has? 0.
Yeah.
Top 10s. Next gen, the average finish for Truex 4.0. That's a 6th and a 2nd place last year. He's got the best driver rating in the next gen car at Michigan. Christopher Bell finished 26th and 13th. Okay, I'm sure there were some things that led up to that because he's not a 26th or 13th place driver on a regular basis. But you say to yourself, well, Phil, this year's different. This year, Bell, this is his season, man. Well, okay, but on the 4 comps, the 1.5 mile high speeds, Truex has him an average finish, 9.3. It's 5th. 14.3 for Bell. It's 9th. Green flag speed, just raw speed. 5th for Truex. 11th for Bell. He's 5-0 head-to-head against Christopher Bell at Michigan. He's 3-1 this year on those 1.5 mile high-speed tracks, and that includes Kansas, which, as Ryan from My Fantasy Race calls it, a mini Michigan. So important stats there. I'm not seeing anything other than just like general vibe that you can't quantify for Christopher Bell. So Martin Truex Jr. as an underdog here, minus 110 on Caesars.
Okay, so minus 110 there. What about you, Ryan? You like that side? You like the Bell side? You like the Truex side? I know your statistics are showing a certain way. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, if I had to pick here, I'd have to go with my own ranks and go with Truex for everything that he said. And I know, Phil's using some of my stuff too when he ranks everything out and does everything he's doing. I'm going to enter in here just real quick. Cup Truex versus Bell. So, yeah, I mean, we have this. We have Truex as the favorite, minus 104 to plus 104 for Chris Bell. So, yeah, I'd have to. The Sims agree with Truex. I agree with Truex. That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the head-to-head that you found, Ryan?
So, I'm going a little different here. These always tend to bite me, but I think I have enough here where I'm confident enough to place the bet, and I did earlier. Ty Gibbs minus 130 over Elliott for qualifying only. And this is because Ty Gibbs is the number 1 qualifier in this package this season overall, the 11 races or so they've done. He's number 2 if you only look at the tracks that have used this, left side tire code that we're going to use this week. That's Vegas, Texas, Kansas, Nashville, Pocono. He's undefeated versus Elliott in that sample size. He's won 2 poles, 0 for Elliott. He's made the final round in 8 out of the 10 races. Elliott, 3 out of the 10. If we look at the sample size in Greg's front runners, which I always like to do because he dives deep too into what the best comps would be. He was 23, 24, Pocono, Indy Oval, Michigan, Auto Club. Ty has the 5th best average starting position in that time. Elliott with the 19th best. He only needs to win this 57% of the time, and he's won it 9 out of 10 times overall in this package this season. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think the other thing that's going too is we talk about this playoff bubble. I just can't. I wouldn't understand how Grandpa gives him a slow car at this track right now. Like, I just figure he shows up with a rocket. Kyle Busch used to qualify well here. I know I'm not saying he's old school Kyle Busch, but I'm just saying JGR can show up fast here. Even though Ford has won a lot of these races, it's not like these guys show up slow. And I believe Ty Gibbs qualified 2nd here last year. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. But
I know Bubba. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, they showed up last year. Third. So he qualified 3rd. So he can show up fast here. Elliott, kind of hit or miss. Same with all the HMS guys here in qualifying. Because I was looking at another matchup with Byron, things like that, and I just wasn't too impressed with what I saw. There's this whole thing too, where like HMS, kind of people always say they take the summer off, which I don't always agree with that, but they definitely seem a little slower now. Minus Larson. Larson's the only one that seems to figure it out in these tough times. So Ty Gibbs minus 130. I don't like paying the juice, especially when it's just one lap here that you need, but he's done it 9 out of 10 times. So yeah, give me a qualifying bet, and hopefully he doesn't, lose his 2nd matchup versus Elliott this year. That would suck. But
so obviously this isn't going to change your opinion by any means, but we talk about it sometimes. So right now we have in Group A, we have Chase Elliott. In Group B, we have Ty Gibbs. That play into anything at all, or just kind of again?
I made this bet before the groups came out just because I believed so much in it. And then I saw the groups and
what are your
was
thoughts?
very happy with the group that Gibbs is in. I don't think it's particularly great because I
Mhm.
think he can qualify better than some of his teammates.
Yep.
And then there's like Ross Chastain, I'm not really worried about, Hocevar, Kyle
Yep.
Busch. Keselowski
Yep.
hasn't been qualifying well, although I wouldn't be surprised if Ford show up here. So, and Elliott's got to go against Larson, Reddick, Blaney, Logano, Busher,
Mhm.
Truex. I mean, his is kind of stacked. So yeah, I was much happier with it after I saw the groups.
So Big Ross is saying that the 24 is taking the summer off, and that's because Kyle Robert was asking about a matchup. Now, just so you know, Ryan, Big Ross is a very much like he's a huge San Fran 49ers fan. I mean, he looks
I heard him
like
ask about the mug, so yeah,
yes,
let's go,
and
dude.
who's the tight end? My name's slipping here. Who's the tight end for the
Kittle.
George Kittle.
49ers? George Kittle. Dude, this guy came on Worm's show like a couple weeks back. We all got to see the face of Big Ross. This is George Kittle's clone, like to a T. So you guys can be boys. So it's interesting because Kyle's asking Byron or Bell. Any thoughts there with that matchup?
I would probably stay away. I don't have any strong feelings either way there. Is that I'm guessing he means for the race. For the race, I have Bell one spot
For the
ahead of
race.
Byron. I just I don't like it either way, so I'd stay away.
Okay. Any thoughts there, Phil, or should we move on?
I looked at Byron pretty heavily for
Yep.
something earlier, and I kind of ended up in a similar situation. Like if that's the question, Bell versus Byron, I'd probably just stay away from that one and watch what happens, kind of with that in mind. But I think they're both obviously potential every week race winning cars, but at Michigan, what the stats are telling us, they're both going to be running like just outside the top 10 and fighting for position with each other the whole race.
Okay. So then there you go, Kyle. Hopefully that helps there a little bit. Ryan, I want to kick it over to you with position props now and let you kind of break into your favorite market here or your favorite position here. What have you found on the board that's most profitable for the listeners out there?
I'm gonna stick with Denny Hamlin for a top 5. It's plus 105 on Fanatics. He's got a gap of almost 2 points in my scores for my pre-practice and qualifying ranks, which it's not doesn't sound like much, but it is when he's beating guys like Larson and stuff like that at the top. It just shows me that he's more of a clear favorite for me this weekend. He's number 1 true performance rank in this package this year, number 1 in my adjusted speed rank that I do in this package, number 1 in track form in that same ranking system. If you take my ranks out, so I just would be unbiased, I'll use Greg's front runner sample size. Again, that's 23, 24, Pocono, Indy, Michigan Auto Club. Then he's number 1 in lap percentage inside the top 5, running almost 50% of his laps inside the top 5 in all those races. He's the only driver above 40% of laps ran inside the top 5. So, I mean, he's just way ahead of everybody. He's number 1 in true average running position. He has 3 top 5s in those 5 races. If you do all 8 Gen 7 races in that sample size, he has 5 out of 8 top 5s. And he's number 1 in top 5 percentage and true average running position in those races too. In his last 6 August races in Michigan, he has 5 top 5s, and the one he missed, he finished 6th. He was right there. He only needs to win this 49% of the time. He's done it 83% in his last 6 Michigan races, 64% in the 11 races in the package this season, and 63% in the front runner sample size as well. So I don't know. Perhaps the Fords, crush here and win 9 times in a row now. So I did take. Well, we'll talk about that later. But Ford, although they could show up fast again, get their 10th win in a row at Michigan, he just has to top 5 here, which is something he's doing almost every time recently. So, and I also too, if the Fords are crushing here because they've had the advantage, like an aero advantage, it's a bigger track. You get behind someone, maybe there's some drafting, involved here. The Toyotas were much stronger this year with their new body on all that track. So I know it's a different package completely. The drafting package is way different, but I'm just saying maybe there's a little bit to that. Maybe on the larger tracks they can hang a little more. But it's not like he's needed it anyways. He's been great here.
Okay, so then there you go with that one. Phil, what about you? What's a position prop that you found that is going to be most profitable this weekend?
Yeah, definitely some fun like position bets out there. I'm gonna bring up this one for the fun conversation around it, and go with an over-under. I'm making sure that the line is still the same. So to start the week, when I was like writing down the stats, Erik Jones was jumping out.
Just re-signed with Legacy.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, it's a little surprising. His top 10 number was ridiculous. Plus 450. I don't think he's got a top 10 car this weekend, but over under is 18.5. And that's putting us more in the ball game. Minus 140 is a number. I'm fine paying that juice. I think if I was ever thinking about him for a top 10, I'll take this and run with it. His numbers here, like I said, they were surprising to me. The last 10 races at Michigan, he's 11th in average finish, and that average finish number is 15.2. That's like 3.3 spots ahead of where you need to be. 3 straight races under 18.5. Next gen finishes 8th and 10th. Last 2 races we've been here, he's been in the top 10, and he's plus 450 for that number here. He's 9th in green flag speed in the next gen car, and on the mile and a halfs this season, I guess he missed Kansas, but on the mile and a half this season, 14th, 19th, and 19th. So just missing by a hook. And if we loop in Kansas and Michigan, I was looking at the last 5. So he's only gone to 4 of them because he missed this year. I don't remember why. His average finish is 10.5 in those 4 races. And with finishes of 8th, 21st, 10th, and 3rd. So I'm telling you, like, top 10 was frisky to me, but when I saw the 18.5, I always take the more conservative route there, and I'm laying that minus 140 for it.
Okay, so you're gonna lay that minus 140 for that. So good call out there. I always like hearing those positional props, really, whenever we're talking about the over-unders. I think those are great that we've been able to get that this year. So really cool and appreciate that. Let's move into the outright markets now. Let's talk about some win bets. And like you said, Ryan, Ford has won 9 races in a row here. This is their playground. This is where they come. They show up. Every time we think that they're not going to win, they go out and win. Look what Harvick did a couple years ago. Buescher back-to-back last year. Every time. And it's every single time. So is there a Ford out there that either one of you are looking at? And I'm going to start with you first, Ryan. Is there a Ford that you're keeping an eye on right now that might back it into victory lane?
My
Figuratively, not
Ford,
actually back into the wall.
Yeah. My favorite
I better not
Ford
say that
right now is
because I might get suspended if I say like he's going to back in. I mean, they suspended the crew chief for saying wreck him, so I don't want to be talking about any wrecks. Go ahead.
Wrecked him, damn near killed him. I will go with Ryan Blaney would be my favorite Ford.
Okay,
He's like 9-1. I don't know. I'm not into it. I don't know how he's going to qualify. I'd rather take Ryan Blaney like 7-1 if I think he's super fast than 9-1 without knowing and just thinking he's good. One that I was confident on, but it's no longer around. Was I did take Hamlin at 8-1 when FanDuel opened.
Okay.
I thought that was more than fair. So did our Sims. Our Sims have it fair between 5 and 6-1. So 8-1 I thought was a steal. One that I regret not taking with it maybe is that Larson opened at 7.5 and I didn't take it. I took Hamlin instead. So just kind of trusting my early week ranks here, and then I have that top 5 too to hopefully cover it if you can't get the job done. And a Ford or Larson or someone comes and destroys it. But yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
I don't want to I don't have any other win bets now. I just don't see any other value till we'll look at it after practice and qualifying.
Well, I mean, I like what we talked about last week with Kyle Larson when he was 750, plus 750 during the show. And so I like some of the call outs that you made there. What about you, Phil? I know you're a guy that likes to look at the trends and usually follows some trends. So where did your eyeballs lead you on the outright card?
Yeah, it was funny because on my show, I always set the card table with a manufacturer pick, and then I bet around that. And for weeks, I've been planning on betting Ford this week for obvious reasons. But when I was looking at it, I was like, I got to almost do like a reverse of this strategy, take a different manufacturer because the Fords are longer odds. So I'm taking individual Fords because when you think about it, there's only really a couple of them that are really possibly going to be able to get it done. So I really like Ryan Blaney this week. Keselowski was another one, but I think you might be able to get Keselowski at a longer number. He's dog shit in qualifying on the mile and a halves that are similar to this year. He's like average 26.0, but his finishes are really good. So wait on him. Let's see what we got.
Okay.
Because I think we can have some confidence in him
Mm-hmm.
no matter what he does in practice and qualifying. But Blaney, who else is going to get it done? Logano's been very hit or miss this season. His numbers at Michigan are kind of like back and forth. But Blaney is one. I mean, I don't know how the numbers stacks up, whether it's fair or not, but plus 850 on FanDuel. He hasn't been phenomenal on the mile and a halves this year. He's got one top 5. I think it was at like Vegas. He ran into some trouble at Texas and Charlotte. But he's still top 10 in driver rating in those tracks this season. He's had decent speed. And at Michigan, he's been solid. Last 10 races, 1 win, 4 top 5s, 7 top 10s, and 6 an average finish, 3 straight top 10s. And that's on the heels of a win in 2021. The next gen, he's been right there with it. So this is a driver that I think is really starting to find his way at this specific track. And we like to try to take advantage of that. And this is also, like you mentioned, Ford's Playground. They're going to go out to eat. They're going to get the riot act. They're going to hear all of that about how we cannot lose. And who's the leader of that camp right now? It's Ryan Blaney. So at 850, I was kind of shocked. I thought he would have been a little shorter than that just because of his recent trends at this track. I mean, if you're looking at the last 5 Kansas, Michigan races, he's 4th in average finish, 3rd drive rating there. So just good numbers for a Ford driver that is, a little further down, a little deeper than the top few dogs there.
I like that you give us numbers like that. So good intel from both of you gentlemen right there. And as we kick it over to you, Phil, I'm very curious what you have to say from like a best bet standpoint. Like what is that bet on the board that you keep looking at thinking to yourself, I found one that it's going to damn near kill the books this week?
Well, let me ask this question, Ryan. I was dealing with my daughter yelling into the baby monitor.
Saw that.
Did you call out Hamlin for a prop earlier, a finishing bet?
Top 5.
Top 5. Okay, because I had that written down as well. I love that bet, probably for all the right reasons that you called out. So I'll say Busher. I saw Busher just came up in the chat. Busher for a top 10, minus 130 on FanDuel. I think he's being mildly disrespected. Another Ford driver, like you got to really examine the Fords this week. And like I mentioned, who's going to get it done? Logano, Keselowski, Blaney, or Busher. And Chris Busher at minus 130. This is a defending race champion here. He had 1 top 10 on the mile and a half, the high speed tracks this year. Where did it come? Mini Michigan, Kansas. He's 9th in green flag speed on all the mile and a halves combined. So 6th in green flag speed in the next gen era at Michigan. He has a 16th place finish and a 1st. So, he's kind of right there in the middle there. I'll be just fine with that. 4th in driver rating that time span in the last 10 races. He's 10th in average finish. So it's not like he's a long shot just because it's Busher. His stats are stacking up with the rest of the field is the point that we're trying to make here. So Busher for a top 10. I think the fact, the playoff picture and all that is coming into play with them as well. But also maybe for a top Ford pick, like plus 450. I keep mentioning who the top 4 guys, like I just made a case for Blaney. I'm not saying I obviously love Blaney, but that's a sneaky pick because something goes wrong. All of a sudden, I mean, he won the race last year. So you don't really have to make a huge resume for him to try to convince people that he's in the ball game. So, but I'll go with the top 10 as my favorite one.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm actually looking to see if it's still available here, and I'll know in just a second. Yeah, it's even money on Fanatics for Ty Gibbs, top 10.
Okay. Wow.
So, I mean, he's had, 2 races here, both in the next gen car. He's finished 10th and 11th. And then I talked about already how well I think he could qualify here. And then you have the other factors of running, being on the playoff bubble and knowing that they can set this car up to show up fast here. He's got a win here in Xfinity. So it's not like he's, it's not like he's bad at this track. I have him, sixth in my pre-practice and qualifying rankings. So that's firmly inside the top 10. If you just look at, this looks at everything, but I'll just name some things here. But in my true performance ranks in this package this year, he's only behind Hamlin and Larson for me. And that's in speed. He drops down a little bit at adjusted speed. He's right around sixth, but still, these are all stats that are inside the top 10. Even his average finish is eighth in this package this year. Seventh, because I actually have Allgaier's race ahead of him. So, seventh-ish place in average finish in the intermediate package. You're getting even money for a top 10. Sign me up for that.
Okay, sign you up for that. We shall. Was there anything else, guys, that we didn't get to talk about yet that you want to?
I don't know. I think we hit a lot of different drivers.
Okay. All right. Well, then I like it. I'm seeing a couple things in the chat here. Just want to make sure that we're staying on top of it. We touched on the Buescher play, and actually want to say Kyle said to you, Phil, the top four is the call, so he likes that. And make sure, that's a little frisky. Yeah, you're right. So make sure everybody is subscribing to In Between Media on YouTube, us on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show podcast, and make sure you guys are following everybody here, Phil and Ryan. And Phil, I'm going to let you just kind of close out the show here. We talked about a lot of different things, talked about the drama that happened here today, and appreciate you coming on. Always good to talk to you.
Always good to talk to you guys. This was fun to be able to let some steam off to start the show. I'll just say one thing that I didn't get to say earlier, not to end the show on overall negative vibes here, but if NASCAR learned anything from this, it's hopefully they can make the decision quicker. I don't think we should leave the racetrack thinking that there could be a change to any situation like this.
Correct. They
had the data. They just were pussyfooting, and they wanted to see what the general public's reaction was, and that's what they acted on, which is bullshit. So hopefully they learned and they can make the call at the track and be more consistent in that sense. So, but with that being said, this was a fun time talking with you guys. Give it a look. My podcast, Full Tank with Phil, put that out there today just before the news broke. So that was unfortunate, but appreciate everybody, and hopefully win some money, build the pockets up before next week, huh?
We need to get you on Sirius XM or something where people can call in and chime in and give their takes really to you. We need to build that because, man, I would love to hear when stuff like this breaks. And we've had some conversations on the side about different racing things, but just to see what Phil would have to say on the airwaves, it would be major stuff. So we need to have that happen.
I'd get booted pretty quick for F-bombs,
okay.
Probably. But I heard a lot of the callers today. I don't know if I wouldn't have been able to handle that. Dave Moody was Dave Moody's a clown, but he was doing God's work today.
He was doing God's work. What about you, Ryan? How can everybody support you?
Wintherace.info. It's a lot of fun in there. This is a great time of year, by the way. I've got like 6 or 7 FFPC NFL drafts going on, and phones fucking blowing up while we're doing this. Yep. It's just a beautiful time to be alive. Austin Dillon's a fucking villain. This is a great time. The NASCAR season's heating up. The playoffs are coming.
Dude.
Football's coming. Let's go. I'm pumped. So wintherace.info. We're not stopping until champion's crowned at Phoenix. Let's roll.
Word of advice for everybody out there. If you got a significant other, girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever it is, this is the weekend to take them out. Take them out on a Friday night, a Saturday night, or even a Sunday night, because after this, it's going to Daytona next week. You ain't taking your wife out then. Then you got football coming up, college football that following week, and NFL after that. So to your point, Ryan, this is the best time. I mean, I think we're fired up. I'm going to kick Phil's ass here in PS5 here in a little bit, but it's going to be a lot of fun here coming up. So make sure, again, you guys subscribe to the In Between Media podcast or the YouTube channel, the podcast, NASCAR Betting Preview Show. Make sure you follow Phil and Ryan at Win the Race and Full Tank with Phil podcast and Instagram. Gentlemen, always appreciate it. Good to talk to you once again. Looking forward to chatting with you next week as the series goes to the chaotic Daytona.